Thank you. Couple of seconds more and then I start the webinar. Good morning. On behalf of Montega, welcome to today's earnings call of the Iute Group. In today's earnings call, we will delve into the Q3 figures of 2023. With me and warm welcome to the CEO Tamo Zilt, CFO Christel Kovacs, and we also have CEO Sergio Zubuliak from Moldova with us today. After the presentation, we will move forward with the Q&A session where you can ask all your questions. And with this, let's start. I hand over to Tamo.
Thank you, Francesca. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you, Sergio, in Moldova. Good morning, Christel. Thank you. We are doing fine. I hope you are also doing fine. Considering what's happening across the world, I think, again, we only can start with opening statement that interesting times ahead and interesting times also in the back. Your money is safe with us, but to get to this point, how your money has been working, let me first start with covering the group highlights. Is the screen share functional? Francesca, can you confirm, please?
Yes, it is.
Good. So we reached total 1 million customers in the database, which is another milestone for Iute Group. By the way, if you have noticed, we have changed our name from Iute Credit into Iute Group, and the name change is also appearing physically now across all Iute's branches in the European countries where we operate. The name change reflects the value streams, the services, different services that we offer to customers, no longer limited to loans, but also to payment services, insurance agency, and other things which could be related to customers' everyday finances. So that is also reflected on the cover page of the earnings presentation, and that is also reflected now in another milestone where we have 1 million customers in the database. What is, of course, more relevant is of how many of those customers who come and sometimes go, who stay with us, who remain active throughout the period, who pay us money for the services that we offer them. And that particular number has decreased from 293,000 at the end of last year to 282,000. So that's actually the first sign we want to put on table and to discuss with you. On the one hand, we have reached to more and more customers, and customers come and go. On the other hand, the number of active customers has been in decline by about 3%, and this has different reasons. Reason number one, obviously, is that people themselves in our markets have become more conservative, and the number of loan applications has been in slight decrease. Reason number two is that we, as credit business, have become also more conservative, which means that we approve slightly smaller number of loan applications. The decrease is from approximately 66% approval rate to approximately 60%. And those two forces on their own already affect the number of customers who are there, because on a monthly basis, also about 4 to 5% customers from the loan portfolio close their loans, and unless you renew the customer lending relationship, the customer pool starts to decrease. On top of that, there is also a slight decrease in the customer performance index, or the repayment discipline on the loans, which you see on the main page. Customer performance index with delay tolerance of 30 days has decreased to 87.3% versus 19.5% during the comparable period last year. So those 3 percentage points are actually very valuable to us in terms of the profitability. We could be more profitable. On the other hand, they also give us very immediate intrinsic measure as to we are navigating well in those waters. And as I have said to you previously in the past, 90% is our optimum benchmark. Going above 90% will be too conservative for Iute Credit viewpoint. Now I talk about the non-bank lending business, not about the bank lending business. So from Iute Credit viewpoint, 90% will be the optimal according to our management criteria. Going above 90, and we have done that in the past, is too conservative. We have declined too many good customers, and in going below that basically shows us that we have to adjust ourselves to remain profitable. So with 87, we have also been profitable, but we actually do not like this number, and that's why we have also tightened the loan approval criteria, and if necessary, tightened even further. Actually, as a challenge to ourselves, to the group management, and maybe a benchmark to our investors, I would like to propose an objective that we will see the decline in CPI stopping by end of Q4. So when we will have the same discussion after 3 months or so, we will see the CPI 30 being not less than 87.3. If we are doing good, actually, then we should also see slight improvement. We have increased the net loan portfolio to 221 million euros. That's nice increase despite of everything. And also we have increased the revenues, 9-month revenue cumulative close to 79 million euros, which is again another increase over last year. And actually, as you see, the revenue has been growing faster than the net loan portfolio. If you ask how, the answer simply is other value streams, other services that we put on table, which are not related to taking the credit risk. EBITDA has improved significantly to 34 million euros, and non-performing loans in the net loan portfolio amount to 7.2%. So all in all, the picture actually is good, but usually whenever you assess your today's situation, one has to look into the past and think what has been doing well, or what one himself has been doing well, what we have been doing well, or what could have been done better. And in these terms, I say that probably some steps we have made in the past have been good. Probably there are also some things where we need to improve to keep the strong performance. So we have to remain vigilant. So that's really in the absolute nutshell how the group has been doing. Now, if we go into a bit more detail and look at it on a country-by-country basis, then we see that in non-credit business, the Moldova, Albania, and Macedonia have each accelerated. When we look at the portfolio sizes, then in Moldova, after 6 months, the loan portfolio was 57.5 million. Now it amounts to 59.3. North Macedonia had loan portfolio of 26.8. Now it has increased to 28.2. And Albania has made a strong acceleration from 61.4 to 64.8. So there has been acceleration, and we have kept the portfolio flat in Bulgaria. We are more or less on the same net portfolio level that it was by end of second quarter. On the bank side, again, we see strong acceleration. I am actually proud of it that the bank has increased its loan portfolio from 53 million to 60 million euros after 9 months. And also in the portfolio balance, if we analyze it and the revenue split, then we see that actually the share of Albania, our money in Albania, has increased on the group level relatively. And we also see that Macedonia is gathering speed. We, of course, expect much more from the Macedonian management. And in that context, also, we have made some changes in the Macedonian management team. So all in all, the growth continues, but with less and more carefully chosen customers. And we expect this trend to continue for some time. Actually, maybe some of you will tell us how long it should continue. It depends on what's going to happen on the global capital markets, on the European capital markets, and in the real economy of Europe, which we are part of. And obviously, the geopolitical situation also plays a big role in here in this context. And that's why we also invited Sergio over from our Moldova team. Sergio runs the Iute credit business in Moldova since 2023, end of 2022, actually. How time flies, Sergio, incredible. Yeah. And just one remark regarding Moldova is that Moldova has been performing very strongly, considering the circumstances, considering its absolute vicinity to Ukraine and to the war in Ukraine. So from that drill down moment, we can also switch over to some more financial data. Total revenue. I absolutely like the total revenue split, where you see that the other income and fee and commission income from other services has been steadily increasing. And that also gives us confidence to say that we will reach the 100 million euro revenue target this year. Revenue is very important to us because this is the real money that customers pay to us and with which we pay the interest for the bonds. We pay the operating expenses, and we do also the investments into the future. Also, a brief discussion about the maturities and APRs. As you see, the loan APRs, annualized percentage rate, continue the decline. We expect the decline to continue for the years to come, despite of the cost of capital increasing. So actually, in the long run, if you look into 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, we can expect that the yield on the lending continues decreasing, while the cost of capital continues slightly increasing. And also the cost of administrating the capital, the cost of compliance and regulatory, also continues to increase. So all the efforts should go into improving the efficiency. And in this context, of course, the revenue to OPEX to revenue ratio is very, very important. And the last remark here to be said is that also the digitalization continues its victorious march. And we have, as of now, as of today, actually, we have more than 750,000 My Iute app downloads. And customers really use it more and more, which we are making a bet helps us to save the cost in the future. Oh, and then the last thing I want to mention or point out on the slide is that we have also increased the group's balance sheet. So the balance sheet increased by almost 13% to 363 million euros. Right. On the loan repayment behavior, I already opened the discussion in the beginning. What to add? You see on the graph the historical CPI 30 of all the loans in the non-bank credit business. You see that we have been constantly dancing in the corridor between 85 to 90%. We also increased or went above the 90 level last year when I started to say that it's too good or we have been too conservative. But now we see that there is also decline. And because the macroeconomic conditions changed, then possibly it has also been good for us to aim higher CPI last year, being more conservative with the loan approvals now. And when we go into the very detailed view of the CPI graph, then we see there is a slight, how do you call it? Fracture, bending point, which actually indicates that the steps we have taken quite recently start to bear the fruit. And that's why I also put ourselves this challenge. This is not a promise, but a challenge that we will see the CPI 30 stay on the level of 87.3 or slightly improving, but not declining further. Okay. One more remark about the debt collection efficiency. Again, you see it looks like human pulse, ups and downs, but in certain corridor. Ideally, we would like to see our own collection efficiency within the first 180 days from the moment of default to be at 40%. 40 is quite a few points away from today's reality, but it is satisfactory. And again, I think that the slight downward trend in the efficiency of the defaulted loans, in the efficiency of collection of defaulted loans, the slight decline in this efficiency reflects the overall macroeconomic situation. And if people default, then also the success in fixing the situation, in eventually collecting the money, suffers. So on the one hand, performing customers perform slightly worse, and on the other hand, defaulting customers also, when they default slightly worse than it used to be, and we have to take this into consideration. In the overall repayment dynamics, how much money we make out of every 100 euros that we expose, that we issue to customers as loan principal amount. Of every 100 euros, you see that we stay very strong on reaching the 135 percentage points mark after 2 years. So when we issue a 2-year loan, then eventually, considering the loan's interest rates, fees, commissions, but also customer actual repayment discipline, because not all loans get repaid on time and some loans default, we still expect to collect 135% or 35% on top of the principal amount. And different selected graphs of different vintage groups that you see on the screen indicate the same picture. Also, we see a trend of increasing the loan maturities. Slowly, we see that the loan maturities are increasing. So I remember times when we were doing average 18 months loans, then 20 months loans. Now the group weighted average is 23 months. And obviously longer loans means also that the maturity graphs go into longer, and peak vintages come later and later and later. But then on the other hand, the peak vintages should also go to higher. So the 135% remains kind of good thumb rule to assess how the business is working or how money is made. Well, I have lost my voice. You take over now.
Yes, I will. So good morning from my side as well. And let me briefly point out our financial highlights. So our adjusted EBITDA, 34 million euros on a yearly basis, increased by 34%. And as Tarmo also already said it is due to the higher level of revenues, especially from Iute non-bank sector, as level of revenues at the bank side pretty much at the same level as during the 9-month 2022. All in all, our total revenue increased by 22%, primary revenues by 21%, our wallet revenues year-on-year basis increase by 28%, and our insurance revenues even 5 times higher compared 9-month results from 22. Only secondary revenues, which we are collecting on cash basis, decreased by 16% due to the different caps and regulations. We ended up with net loan portfolio at the level of 221 million euros, year-on-year increase by 14%, and on quarterly basis increased by 6%. And as Tarmo also said, our payout level 213 million euros. And even despite the fact that, yes, for example, in September, our payout level was lower, but during the third quarter, our maturity was even 24 months. Average 9-month maturity, 23 months. Our operating expenses, unfortunately, also increased by 13%, and we ended up with operational expenses at the level of 30 million euros. To be mentioned that from Iute non-bank, operational expenses increased by 12%, and at Enerbank side by 38%. That is something to be improved and to be more efficient at Enerbank side. Comparable adjusted net profit, 9-month 2022, 7.4 million, and now during the reporting period, 9.3 million. So increase on a yearly basis, 26%. So moving further. As already said, total income at the level of 79 million euros, which means that on a yearly basis increase 22% from 65 million euros to 79 million euros. And main reasons or levels are already described. Also, adjusted EBITDA, as you see, increased by 34%, and we ended up at the level of 34 million euros. Cost to income ratio for reporting period 41.7%, which is already lower compared last quarter compared to end of 22nd, but still we are aiming to have consolidated cost to income ratio at the level of 40%. But once again, at the Iute non-bank sector, cost to income ratio at the level of 38%, and at the same time, at Enerbank side, it is 57%.
I feel you are poking me. I am chairman of Enerbank supervisory board.
Yes, I do. So our aim is, yes, as I already said, our aim to keep consolidated cost to income ratio 40%. So our net profit margin, as you see, on a yearly basis, increased from level of 11% to a level of 12%. And also, we are still aiming to have it consolidated basis, net profit margin at the level of 15%. Capitalization ratio, 31.6%, and interest coverage ratio, 1.7. No decrease or increase on a yearly basis. And as you all know, we had at the beginning of August, we had bondholders meeting. And thank you to all bondholders who accepted our proposal, which will give us more flexible regarding permitted debt, which means that from now on we are more flexible to get a local funding. Because at the moment, yes, as much as possible, we are trying to get local funding to minimize the forex loss. Moving further to the loan book quality, which is already pretty much covered by Tarmo. As already said before, our net NPL 7% and our gross NPL 12.6%. Still, we don't have in regular basis, we don't sell our defaulted portfolio. We are trying, but it is not maybe so simple to do it. During the third quarter, yes, Iute Macedonia was able to sell defaulted portfolio in a volume of 900K, and we are still trying to sell as much as possible.
As expensively as possible.
Yes.
That is the
Also,
key word here.
That's the key word, yes. And impairment coverage ratio 70.5%. During the 9 months, we recognized the provisions in amount of 18 million euros, which means that on a yearly basis increase also by 18%. But as also Tarmo explained, based on the new approval policy, we truly believe that the ratio of the defaulted portfolio will improve and not vice versa. Moving further. So, as you see, we ended up with total assets at the level of 364 million euros, out of which close to 82% belongs to cash and net loan portfolio. Talking about cash, then 21 million belongs to Iute non-bank sector, because we were also preparing coupon payment, which we made it at the beginning of October. And the cash balance from Enerbank side, 55 million euros. We had total liabilities at the level of 294 million euros and interest-bearing liabilities close to 280 million euros, which means that on yearly basis, interest-bearing liabilities increased by 11%, and at the same time, the net loan portfolio on a yearly basis increased by 14%. As you see from interest-bearing liabilities, 40% belongs to Frankfurt bonds, close to 44% due to the Enerbank belongs to loans, and 16% belongs to B2B platforms. So to sum it up from my side, our aim to keep cost-to-income ratio on consolidated basis not more than 40%, and also to keep net profit margin at the level of 15%. So, and from now I will give a word to Sergio, to Moldova. Sergio, please.
Hi everybody, and thank you for the invitation and for the chance to present our country. So Moldova at a glance, I would say, and just like the picture shows, we are living, as Tarmo mentioned, in a very turbulent, very volatile world. And that also affects the country, the economy, the development of the economy as well. So just to put into perspective how that affected Moldova in general, we see from the charts presented in the slides that annual inflation during current years peaked at almost 35% on an annual basis in September, October 2022, when was the peak of the inflation that hit heavily our economy itself and all the interest rates related products as well. Currently, the progress that the government done and the political side, also the efforts of political side, all the reforms, and that gave us a good results in terms of stabilizing the inflation. It went down to 8.6 at the end of September, and currently it is in the range of 6% inflation rate. That helped in a bit the economy, and that was mainly due to financial support from the European partners and the US as well. On the other side, the population is constantly decreasing. As you can see, it has reached at the end of 2021 a level of 2.5 million official registered people living in Moldova. That also brings challenges to the economy, to the development perspective. What is also interesting, we are very much dependent on FX since our liabilities in the foreign currency. When looking at the FX, we can see quite a bit of fluctuations. Nevertheless, in the last year, we see a stabilization of the foreign currency exchange rate. And the challenges the country is facing right now is related to political instability, to economical changes, corruption, and of course the regional tensions and the war that is going on right next to our border. Nevertheless, taking all the factors that is affecting our country did a bit of progress. As you may know, with the support of the European Union and all the partners, development partners, we have obtained the status of EU candidate state in recent and several months ago. And also, I believe it was during last month, the EU Commission advised the EU member states to start direct negotiations with Moldova about the accession to European Union. That is a strong signal that we have very good support from the from the EU and the development partners. That will help in the future to make our economy and our country more attractive to investors. Will open door to further assistance and the European funds going into our economy to support its development. Also, the progress is related to Moldova. It's visible in the economy. So we basically diversified the energy sources, energy providers. We diversified the gas suppliers, and now we are buying gas from the European Union as well. And we also see a very positive movement in terms of GDP forecast, because in 2022 we had a decrease in GDP of 5.9%. Currently, in 2023, we see a forecast of increase of 1.6% by the World Bank forecasted, and the very positive and a very optimistic, I would say, increase forecast for 2024 in amount of 4.7%. That all in all gives us a picture where we live, how we are dealing with the issues and the challenges of the current situation. When switching to Iute Moldova, being a part of this world and being a very important part of Iute Group, you can see that we had very nice results during 9 months 2023. We have managed to increase our loan issued amount from 59 million during 9 months 2022 to 62 million during the 9 months 2023, and the split into two main product types, cash and dealer. You can see it pretty stable. Nevertheless, as Darmo mentioned, we are very much focused on digitalizing all the processes inside the company, and that is very visible when we talk about the portion of the payout done through My Iute app. And currently we have more than 260,000 downloads of My Iute app, and that gave a pretty nice increase in the share of cash payout through my Iute app from 14 to 25% during 9 months 2023. Also, a slight increase when we talk about the dealers in e-commerce platforms, and that would be our midterm and short-term focus as well. We need to focus on increasing the partners number related to e-commerce platforms. And just to put in the numbers into perspective, we have increased the partners from 28 to 60 partners at the end of September, and it is constantly increasing. Related to the quality and the CPI 30 performance, we can see a pretty stable indication and pretty stable percentage. We see that at the end of September, we managed to get 90% CPI 30 compared to 90.8, a slight decrease from September 2022. In terms of financial performance, we see that we have pretty stable total revenue, which amounts to 18.7 million euros during 9 months 2023, compared to 18.8 million to 9 months 2022. We see a very strong increase in EBITDA and the EBITDA margin. We see a moderate increase in net profit. I am saying moderate on purpose because our ambitions and wishes are a lot more. The net profit going from 2.8 million euro to 3.5 million euros. And just to put everything into shorter perspective and shorter summary, we can see that how I used to say, we live in a new reality. And by that I mean not only the war that is going on across the border, but also in terms of regulations. We have 2 regulators in Republic of Moldova. One is Central Bank starting July 2023, and the other one, National Commission for Financial Market, still there. Their responsibilities split, and the Central Bank is more focused on responsible lending and corporate governance, and the National Commission is focused on consumer protection. As you may know, we have more and more dynamic changes in the regulation related to responsible lending, new cap on debt-to-income ratio, and only official income to be taken into consideration. We have cap on annual interest rate of 50%. Other fees are capped at 0.04% per day. But that is a common, let's say, that is the level for all the players on the market, and that is increasing the challenges that we need to deal in our day-to-day business, and that makes us even stronger in our tendency to digitalize the processes, to optimize the cost due to the digitalization, and being an independent company in the market, because bank is bank, Iute is Iute. We always think about new products and new revenue streams like insurance and others. We will be hearing, I believe, in the next year, very often 2 new words that will become our guidelines. That's related to efficiency and quality. Efficiency in operations, efficiency in day-to-day business, quality not only about portfolio, but quality in investments, quality in payout process, in our underwriting processes. And here I mean the automatization of the underwriting process without the interference of the human factor. And that will give us a very nice potential to optimize the OPEX. Also, we are in constant talks with the group about diversifying the products. And here I would like to mention continuous talks about B2B products, business loans. and that will give us a nice potential to generate a long-term and sustainable portfolio. And the last but not the least is to mention that we are also discussing with the groups new products that will fit and will be optimal for both entities, in order not to steal from each other the customers, but rather complementing each other.
Yes, when you mentioned, Sergio, new products, I started to sit on my hands.
I know. This all in all about Iute Moldova and what times are coming next, and what are the focuses related to Iute business and the Iute Moldova, Iute Credit, non-banking business in Moldova.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. If this is all from you right now, there might be questions coming later, then I would like to resonate a bit, because our investor base, I think we have different backgrounds and different associations related to European Union. So I think for the ones who are in Germany or in Switzerland, I think the feeling associated with becoming EU member or association, accession negotiations, whatever, is totally different, because I think everybody has been lifelong in the EU, or at least in the European Economic Zone. But in the Eastern Europe, for instance, speaking as an Estonian, I clearly remember the day when Estonia was officially invited to the accession negotiations. I remember the years that followed. I remember the back and forth travels between Brussels, eventual accession, and the same thing happening in many countries. And I also remember how it influenced the country's internal development, not only economical, but also political, legal development. And I think even though European Union members are different, and especially the members from the Eastern Europe can be very, very different, but I think it's hard to argue that any of them is a fail, or joining the EU has been a fail. Every country has got a boost from it. And actually, this makes me also very optimistic as regards Moldova and the other member state, North Macedonia. Second point, also important to put down, that Moldova Lei is going to celebrate its 30 years. And as far as I know, there is going to be even a festivity event in Chisinau by end of November. So I think it's a remarkable milestone that the country has been keeping on with its economy and with its currency for so long. So I am very positive, and eventually I hope we will talk about Moldova as member of European Union and member of the common market. Right. Now, I think this completes the presentation from our side, us three, Sergio Sobulak, who holds approximately 60 million euros of our money in the portfolio, Iute Credit portfolio in Moldova, and then Crystal, who holds all the money, and me, who has to make sure that we have a winning team and that the whole thing works in unison. But there is actually a big team behind all those results. There are close to 50 chief officers in the group across different management functions. And there is also the big team of close to 1,000 people who work day by day and whose work we try to improve. So thank you, everybody, for those results. And thank you also, investors, for your capital laid with us and earning money back to you. And Francesca, I think now it's time for the questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Tamu. Thank you so much, Crystal. And thank you so much, Sergio. We're now moving forward to the Q&A session. And to keep the conversation engaging, we kindly ask you to post your question via the audio line. To do so, you can use the raise your hand button. And if you're dialed in via phone, you can do this with the key combination *9 followed by *6. or you can also use our chats if speaking freely today isn't possible for you. And we received a first question from Erki Truma. Thank you so much for your question in the chats. Who would like to know, will or are the legal expenses deriving from the court case against the founder of PocoPay be reflected in the company's expenses in Q3 or Q4? Thank you so much for the question.
Let me put it this way. The overall project with PocoPay costed to the group approximately 1.3 million euros, which is approximately 2% of all the group's costs during the period. And the legal costs out of this amounted to something which, how do you call the fraction numbers? Fraction percentage of the total. So my answer is insignificant.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we haven't received any further questions. So I mean, Tamu, you can maybe talk a little bit more about Iute if you like, and then maybe we can wait a couple more minutes if we receive more questions.
Yes, actually, we would like to have questions. We have worked hard, you know. We have really worked hard. And sometimes we make mistakes, but overall what matters is what is on the table. If money is on the table, then we should, you know, be able to pat each other and say that very well done, very well done, and very well done, Sergio, and very well done, everybody in Albania and in Macedonia, and also in Bosnia and in Bulgaria and in Tallinn and in Luxembourg and in Germany, etc., etc. So thank you very much, everybody. But really, are there any more questions coming to us today?
I think that was it. I mean, great numbers. So if there are no further questions, oh, we have two questions actually. Thank you so much. One question from Peter Prislam. Peter, you can speak now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Yes. So I have actually a question about the sales of the non-performing loan portfolio. I think you mentioned that you have sold less. So maybe you can give some color on the NPL portfolio market. Are the players more hesitant to buy, or basically you don't find the offers attractive enough to proceed in the same scale as in the past, or just give us color what is happening there? Thank you.
Yeah, it's quite difficult for a cucumber seller to explain what is happening on the cucumber market, in a sense that we always remain in a position that whatever we sell is the best and is very workable, and we want the best price for it. Whereas the buyers say that since you did not work out with it initially, while the loan was performing, then now you just try to save your money and put all the risks and rotten cucumbers on us. So that is about the color, and that discussion has been the same throughout the years. Now, to give maybe some more insight, clearly we see that the cost of capital also affects the debt collection companies. And obviously, if the cost of capital has increased, then if you make the time calculations of the eventual value of the portfolio, those time calculations very aggressively also decrease. So we have seen this, and that creates a certain gap between the expectations of the buying and selling side. From our viewpoint, any number I will tell you will be very risky, because maybe next day somebody will call us and say that, you know, let's have it because you said it on the investor call. But I would say that if we would sell anything which is defaulted at a price above 40%, then we most likely will be satisfied. But it has been difficult to get offers on the price level above 40% in recent periods. This much I think I can say without damaging our interest too much or being too transparent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We received another question via the audio line. Unfortunately, I can't see your name, so please introduce yourself, and you should be able to speak now.
Crystal, Tamo here. It's Frank Oliver. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Greetings to Tallinn. Peter, who just spoke, actually raised a very good question, and if I may just add something to that. Does that not mean if you don't get the 40 cents which you're looking for, does that not mean that maybe your own NPLs might be overvalued on the balance sheet? Have you thought about that? Does that have implications if the market is not there, that your own valuations might have to be adjusted?
That is a possible scenario, but plausible scenario, but still I would consider it unlikely. The reason being that the provisions being calculated as a result of our own internal collection.
Okay.
And also the result of external collection, and external collection which could also be later converted into debt sales. So there are actually three different ways how to collect or make money out of a defaulted loan: our own collection, external collection, and selling. So selling is only one of the three opportunities. And if we look at the overall performance of the defaulted portfolio, how much we collect, either using option 1, option 2, or option 3, then the provisions are sufficiently conservative, or we are rather over-provisioned. Even as of today, we are rather over-provisioned. Having said that, I have always said that we have to remain vigilant, and what you just mentioned is plausible.
Yeah, you always have the other two options. No, I understand. So, and you have a history of collecting yourself a certain percentage of the defaulted loans, and that should be kind of a floor, right? Something like that. Can I just add one more question, a totally different subject on the bank? And you have been owning that bank now for a while, and I guess when you bought the bank, everyone was kind of excited about it, but everyone who looked at it knew that this is going to be not just a sprint, it's more like a series of sprints, a marathon full of sprints. And you made some progress in having a good agreement with the regulator at the moment, and that hopefully will be to the benefit. Still, there's this 55 million of cash sitting in the bank. And I wonder, is that throwing off any positive results, because the results have been shrinking? And if I then easily look at your P&L of the bank, I can see that the OPEX is, of course, one issue. But just without necessarily drilling into individual numbers, what's the perspective for the bank for the next 2-3 years? Because you do have a very valid, and Sergio presented it, you do have a very valid Moldavian operation in the non-bank business. And the initial idea, which I had when I looked at that situation, was that the non-bank operation might become an element of, or might become a source of a lot of income within the banking operation. But that hasn't really started, if I'm right. So is that still valid, or what's the procedure? Are these two separate businesses which you will keep very, very separate business, maybe complement on the product side, as Sergio mentioned? Just give me a little bit of a perspective how this is going to develop in Moldova. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's fair. It's fair to put some let's say main anchor points to the wall and stick to those. Anchor point number 1: the bank is profitable, it makes money, and eventually we expect it also to contribute to the group's dividends. That's point number one. Point number two, the bank needs digitalization, and it needs change of the business processes, of course, in compliance with the Moldovan regulations and Moldovan regulator. But the bank needs change, and the change is undergoing. The key word here is digitalization. Just making the bank work in such a way that there are traces of all its services and all its customers in the data warehouse. Eventually, if everything is in the data warehouse, we can claim that the bank is digitalized truly. Now, digitalization requires a certain turn inside the bank, and that turn really has been slower than we initially expected. And I can only say that we are putting now more effort into the U-turn, and we are also making changes in the bank's key staff and in the bank's management. Obviously, changes always happen at the approval of the regulator, so we always have to work closely with them, and that can be time-consuming, but it is necessary. So, third keyword besides profit and besides digitalization is the turn, U-turn inside the bank, which is time-consuming. In the long run, we still keep the big picture. We want the bank services to complement Iute credits and vice versa, and we see the synergies, possible synergies in the future. And we already see now that there are synergies because of the extensive knowledge and experience that the group, the Iute Group, has in digitalization and utilization of technology, starting from customer digital onboarding to the customer user interface, the smartphone app, to digital lending, to assessing creditworthiness, data warehousing, etc., etc. We see that this extensive knowledge is already being put and is possible to put into banks' operations. You also pointed out, and that's my last point, you also pointed out the bank's OPEX. And indeed, the OPEX is a concern, but the OPEX right now is also the result of the changes inside the bank. And also, just to give a very simple example, which everybody understands, by cutting the staff size, one has to pay redundancies. Can be significant inside the bank, and that has been one of the driver of the cost. But there are also drivers related to other changes. Long story short, profit, digitalization, change, and complementing products.
And time perspective, Tamo, another 2 years until the fruits will show up. I assume there will be no dividend paid this year to the group, or is that a
I cannot say about this year or the next year or the year thereafter. I can only say that you can even discuss this point every quarterly call. And I like if I'm being poked, and I know that something has to be achieved, something has to be on the table.
All right, thank you very much. All the best for the Q4, which you already have halftime today. And we speak again in the new year. Merry Christmas already in November. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions, and also thank you so much, Tamu, for answering all of them. As no further questions have come in, we are ending this earnings call now. And on behalf of Montega, I thank you so much for listening, and if any questions should arise in the future, please feel free to contact us or Iute Group, and we will end this call with some final remarks from Tamu.
We just say thank you and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.